Hi, my name is Travis Merrill, and I teach viola at San Diego State University. Today, I want to talk to you about mapping your fingerboard and creating a detailed map of this featureless black piece of wood that is the fingerboard. Now, if you think about it, a lot of people's map of the fingerboard is splotchy. We may have parts of it, like first position, say, or sometimes third position, that are really crystal clear and that we can reliably place our fingers down and know where every note is. There may be other parts of the fingerboard, say fifth position or second position, where things start to get a little bit fuzzy, like you have a decent amount of information about what's going on there, but you're not 100% sure. And then there may be whole parts of the fingerboard where your map is completely black and you have no idea what's going on in those parts and are just kind of guessing. So I'm going to give you two ways to chart your fingerboard today: one finger chromatic scales and finger pattern blocks that are going to help us create a really deep and crystal clear map of the fingerboard. Now, if you think of the fingerboard like a freeway, each stop up the fingerboard, each half step up the fingerboard is like an exit on that freeway. And then at each of those exits, we have different shops and restaurants and parks that are available. Those are our finger pattern blocks. Now, if you can't put your finger down reliably in one of those places on the fingerboard, it's like having an exit that's completely hidden to you. And that means that there may be a great restaurant or park or something like that that you're missing. Additionally, since a lot of these finger pattern blocks have notes that overlap in different parts of the fingerboard, when you've created this really rich map of the fingerboard, you have this ability to suddenly find shortcuts from one note to another that perhaps didn't exist for you before. So we're going to take a look at each of these ways of charting the fingerboard separately, and then we'll put them together at the end to show how we can create this really clear map of the fingerboard. So we're going to be using one finger chromatic scales to chart all of the various exits along our fingerboard freeway. Now, when we're doing this, it's important not to just listen to the sound of each half step as we go up, but also to imagine or even say out loud the note name as we're playing. What that will do is really strengthen your mental image of what that note sounds and feels like when you're playing. Otherwise, it's easy just to listen to the sound and not necessarily know what pitch you're playing, which is a problem. For those of you that are really visual learners, imagining the note on the staff as you're playing is really helpful. You'll notice we're doing all of these exercises without music. It forces you to do more of the work in your head, but I think that mental sweat also pays off in the end in terms of learning the fingerboard that much faster. So I'm going to play one octave going from D all the way to the D an octave above the open D. If you've never done this before, you can play just up a fifth or so to maybe B flat. And I'm going to say the note name aloud as I play it. I'm also going to be listening for sympathetic vibrations from the open strings. So for example, when I get to G, I'm going to be listening that my open G is ringing with that. When I get to A, I'm going to listen for that. That's going to ensure that I'm staying on track between all of these different stops on the freeway. D to D sharp. D sharp to E. E to F. F to F sharp. F sharp to G. G to G sharp. G sharp to A. A to B flat. A sharp. A sharp to B. B to C. C to C sharp. C sharp to D. I'm going to be thinking about flats now on my way down. D to D flat. D flat to C. B natural, B to B flat, B flat to A to A flat, A flat to G, G to G flat, G flat to F, F to E, or F flat, E to E flat, D. Now, at the beginning, it may feel very intimidating to try and find every single half step moving up the fingerboard. But if you think about it, we already have positions on the instrument where we can reliably put down our finger and just know where that note is, and that comes from practice and familiarity. First position, which most of us are very familiar with and crystal clear about, is objectively no easier than any other position. It's just we've spent more time there. So spend some time with these one-finger chromatic scales. I also recommend you start them on different fingers. Charting the fingerboard with each finger moving up the string is going to really give you a lot of confidence when it comes to being able to play any note with any finger. One-finger scales are a great way to map all of the exits along our fingerboard freeway, but to really figure out what sorts of things are available, what notes are available to us at each of those stops, finger pattern blocks are a great way to examine that in detail. Now, there are 4 basic finger patterns. There are other finger patterns, but these 4 basic ones will cover a really high percentage of what we do on our instrument. So the 4 basic finger patterns are half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, and all whole steps. For me, this is pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3, pattern 4. Now what we're going to do is put our finger along one stop on our freeway. I'm going to pick the note G on the D string, and I'm going to spend a little time playing each of the finger patterns at that location. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to, before I play, imagine what notes I'm playing. I'll say the note names out loud, and I'm going to imagine the spacing between my fingers as I'm playing. And that's one of the real advantages of these finger pattern blocks, is they allow you to know not just where one note is, but where groups of notes are in any particular place on the fingerboard. So in third position on the D string, I've got my note G. Finger pattern 1, I'm going to have G, A flat, B flat, C. Finger pattern 2, I've got whole step, half step, whole step. I've got G, A, B flat, C. Finger pattern 3, I've got G, A, B natural, C. Finally, finger pattern 4, I have G, A, B, C sharp. Now, if you haven't practiced this way before, I would spend a few days playing different finger patterns, or all 4 finger patterns at different places on the string. So having a different starting note and playing all 4 finger patterns in different places on the string on different strings. What you'll discover is that there are parts of those that seem very fuzzy, parts that seem very clear, and we want to make all of them as clear as possible. So if you know that there is a particular place on your fingerboard, say first finger on F on the D string in second position, that's a little bit fuzzier for you, that's one I would spend time on. Doing this for a few minutes a day over successive days, you're going to develop a much clearer idea of what notes are available to you at any particular point on the fingerboard. After you've practiced that and your one finger chromatic scales, for a while and you feel comfortable, it's time to start putting them together. So we've spent some time learning all the exits on our fingerboard freeway with our one-finger chromatic scales. We've learned what's available to us at each of those exits with our finger pattern blocks. And next, it's time to combine those two layers of our map together to give us a really robust sense of everything that's going on the fingerboard and what we have available to us in each place on it. So to do that, we're going to practice an exercise I call the finger pattern ladder. And what we're going to do is take one finger pattern. I'm going to take finger pattern 2. So whole step, half step, whole step. I'm going to play on the D string, and I'm going to transpose that finger pattern up the string 1/2 step at a time. And to ensure that I really know what notes I'm playing and not just going by the sound of the pattern itself, I'm going to make myself say the note names aloud before I play them. Here we go. So I'll start with E flat, F, G flat, A flat. Then I have E, F sharp, G, A. Then I have F, G, A flat, B flat. And then I have F sharp, G sharp, A, B natural. Then I have G, A, B flat, and C. You can also practice the same thing going down the string. Can see that takes, even for me, quite a bit of work to really know what note I'm playing all the time, but it's really beneficial mental work for establishing that map of the fingerboard. Now, a more challenging variation of this finger pattern ladder is, instead of shifting with the same finger every time, to shift first with the 4th finger and then with the 1st finger. So if I were to take the same pattern and go up the string that way, it would sound something like this. That's really challenging not only for the ear, but it's also challenging for the brain. So that's a great one to practice if you want a little bit of an extra challenge. So with just a few minutes of daily practice on each of these exercises, you can really clarify your mental map of the fingerboard, which is going to give you a lot more confidence when it comes to playing in tune, and also open up options for more creative fingerings, because you're going to have a better sense of where all the notes lie on the fingerboard. If you'd like to see some of these exercises written out, or also some additional more challenging exercises, please click on the link above or in the video description underneath. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please share it with a friend or subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.